All right, today on the show, we have Courtney Hatfield from McDowell Homes in Cleveland and the surrounding areas. By the way, they just opened up an Akron office. Let me tell you more about Courtney. Now, Courtney is a wife, a mother of two, an owner and top producing agent of Your Home Court team. She's also the co-owner of Your Home Court Designs and social media, and she's a social media speaker. But Courtney launched her career in real estate, believing you 100% get what you work for. Authenticity paired with hard work and determination has carried her team of 6 into the top 1% of Northeast Ohio. She's closing, and her team are closing a home every 3 days. And again, only 6 team members. Now, one day it just clicked, said Courtney, and the freedom to live life on her own terms was hers for the choosing. She held the power. She chose how hard she worked, her schedule, her paycheck, and her opportunities. And we're excited to chat with her today. And she is willing to share a lot of what she did to become successful with our audience. To learn more about Courtney, I want you to visit her company website, which is MCD, M as in Mary, C as in Charlie, D as in David, homesplural.com, mcdhomes.com. And also follow Courtney on social media because she absolutely shines there. You can find her on Facebook just by searching for Courtney Hatfield. Also on Instagram, courtneyhatfield.realtor. By the way, all of those links are in our show notes, as well as a social media guide that Courtney is generously going to provide to all of our audience, which is also in the show notes. So Courtney, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I am a
Thanks.
longtime listener. I just listened to an episode this morning on the way to work.
Wow. Well, I am so honored to hear that and really grateful to have you on the podcast as well, because what you and your team have accomplished in a relatively short amount of time is just nothing more than incredible. But before we get to sort of the present day, I'd love to start at the beginning. So can you tell us a little bit about why you got into real estate and how you got into real estate?
Absolutely. So I got into real estate truly by happenstance in 2018. It was a family decision. My husband's family owned a brokerage at the time. And, I was a stay-at-home mom and I was bored. I was actually spending more money as a stay-at-home mom out of boredom that my husband was like, you need to go do something. So I was like, well, what if I go into the family business? And I did. And I loved it from the start. I had a slow start with it though, because right after I got my license, my husband's uncle, who was the broker, actually was diagnosed with cancer. And he ended up passing away a year later. So it wasn't really until 2019 that I really hit the ground running with my career. And I chose McDowell Homes. I interviewed a few different brokerages, but they were one of the smaller boutique independent brokerages in Cleveland. And I really loved their culture and what they stood for. It was a good fit. And that's just really where I've made myself a home. And I decided to start our team here. And so over the last 3 years, I've just really poured myself into this this baby that I created, Your Home Court team. And here we are. We're killing it.
You are killing it. And I think we want to just maybe remind everyone that you've only been practicing for a handful of years, and you started right when COVID was happening.
Yes.
So the fact that you started and again on the heels of a tragedy, and my condolences for that, but also this ability to start at tragedy aside, just COVID, it's its own tragedy, of course, and what it did to to agents and their production, and everyone was obviously struggling as agents to produce. And of course, last year was a pretty good year for a lot of agents because there was a lot more activity as we were all getting back to some degree of normalcy. But this, just to be able to start at this pretty challenging time is incredible. And how did you know to create it? Did you create a team right away, or were you already sort of chugging along yourself and sort of needed help, or how was the decision made for that?
So I will say the one thing that I really took away, besides the opportunity that I got from my husband's uncle when I came on to the family brokerage, was I remember he had just missed a phone call, and I was sitting at the desk and I was just kind of like watching him because I was new and I didn't know what I was doing. And in my mind, I was like, oh, well, he has time to call that person back. But literally he just missed it and he was already dialing the person back. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the type of hustle that I need. And I knew that I had it like buried down in me. And so I was like, this is what I've got to do. So after everything unfolded and I started at McDowell, I was on a team. I came to McDowell and I joined a team.
Yeah.
And I was only on that team for a short period of time before I realized I can do this. And I had everybody leads differently. And I had my own ideas brewing up inside that I was like, I need to put this into action. And so I know I just went on a little side tangent. I'm sorry.
No. This is all absolutely, this
Um,
is so incredibly unique. I want to stay with this. This is amazing.
It's just interesting to me. It's almost kind of how it all happened by happenstance, but how it all fell together just so beautifully to give me this career that I've built and to give these agents the career that they now have and the people that we've met along the way. And it's just, I'm truly blessed for how it all unfolded. So, yeah, I know, I feel like I just gave a really long-winded answer there, but yeah, I joined a team. I realized very quickly, you know what, everybody leads differently. I do have leadership qualities. So what's the worst that can happen? You know, I'm not successful at it. And so I kind of took that leap and I started with one agent and I very slowly just grew to where we are now. I have 6 agents and we are all full-time, top producing, and just really incredible people all the way around.
Yeah. Well, I hear that, and I hear it's such a unique story. I've done, I think, 400 plus of these, and I've not ever heard anyone say I needed to develop a team within a short period of time of not only being in the business, but also being part of someone else's team where you're like, I see what they're doing. I could maybe do this in a different way, or, you know, in my own way. And the fact that, and in a time of really difficult time to be a realtor, like all of this is blowing my mind. It's leaving me a bit speechless, because the results really do speak for themselves. I mean, here you are now with your 6 or your 5 other agents, or you know, and your guys are closing, you know, 100 plus homes a year. And it's not like, well, you're 20 years in the business and you're like, it's time for me to build a team, and I was tired of working 80 hours a week, and so I started. It was like right away, you're like, I can do this. And that's an incredible amount of confidence. And I mean that in the most sort of lovely way, because you really did bet on yourself. And they're really, you know, and I don't mean this in any sort of pejorative sense or critical sense, but maybe you shouldn't have even had that much confidence, right? And yet you did, and you made it. And that is, I love those stories. You bet on yourself.
You know, I have that mentality, and sometimes it does bite me in the butt, and I'm just like, well, what's the worst that could happen? You know? And so here we are, and the worst, there's nothing bad about it. It's just all really come together.
I love what you just said. And I know I'm sort of stuck on this point, but I think it's so important, this mindset that you have. I went and saw the filmmaker Kevin Smith speak once, and we're probably all familiar with him, or at least we know the name. And whether you like his movies or not, he's definitely had a impressive career as somebody that like worked in a video store essentially, and then bet on himself and made his first movie Clerks with like credit card debt that was no studio would finance it, and then of course went on to a lot more fame, and he's still making movies today. But anyway, when I saw him speak, he said very similar thing to you. And this was his big message, that when I saw him speak, was he's like, betting on yourself, there's really not much downside, right? He's like, if you don't make it, oh well, you find something else to do. But what if you're wrong? What if you would make it? And he's like, what if betting on yourself is actually right? And the fact that you're saying this now is just, I hope our audience is taking this in, is like, betting on yourself might feel risky, but it's maybe not as risky as people think. And so I applaud you for taking that leap, and obviously you're having an amazing ride. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, very similarly to betting on yourself, which I feel like people need to do that, not just in real estate, but just life in general. Just have the confidence in yourself and in your gut feeling of what you're supposed to be doing. All my life, I had been told I was, bossy or I had leadership skills. And it's like, yes, I know these things, but how can I get there and channel them? And when, what's that quote? When preparation meets
Meets
opportunity, or when,
perspiration.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Something
you know
like
what I
that.
mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like, when everything comes together so divinely, just you have to trust it that everything's going to
Yeah.
work out in your behalf. And I think people should do that more often, not just in business, but in life.
Well,
You
I
don't
hope
get,
our,
I was just going to say, I'm sorry, you don't get what you don't ask for, So if you're not
yes.
going to ask, you're not going to get it.
And failure, getting used to failure is a good thing, right? Because I'm sure as you run a team, there's probably lots of things you've tried with your team that work and lots of things that
Mhm.
don't work. And I've found, and not in every case, but almost every really successful person I know fails a lot. Like they're
Yeah,
just like, oh, failure is just part of the deal, but you just keep going, you get back up, you try harder. And so it's not even that failure is really the issue. It's getting up from the failure, I think.
totally. And I don't even call it failure.
Right.
At this
Yeah.
point, it's growing pains. We are growing.
Yes.
And I'm fortunate to
Yes.
be surrounded by agents that have a lot of grace as we grow, to trust my vision, but they can say, okay, well, this isn't working out. How can we correct this? Instead of just being all up in arms, we have to shift.
Yeah. Yeah, pivoting, and
Yeah.
and having grace too for the imperfection of running a real estate business, whether it's an individual practitioner and they just learned their best friend went with a different realtor as opposed to them, or somebody who's running a team and maybe their top producer decides to leave, and it feels, it feels like, oh, this is all failure. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, no, it's just an experience, happens to be one that doesn't feel very good and sort of sucks,
Yeah.
but it doesn't have to be the end, right? It can keep
Mhm.
keep moving you forward. And in fact, I learned, I read this, I didn't learn it myself, or I learned it from reading it, but it's like we only actually learn from making mistakes. It's only really the way that we do it. So I love the fact that you took an enormous chance on yourself, and here we are. I want to talk about social media and its role in
Yeah.
how that's helped really skyrocket your business. And you teach this as well. So this
Yes.
isn't just something you do, you're able to really tell agents. And I guess I want to start, before we get into it, with something that I rarely ask people about social media. And I actually was telling you this before we started. I was like, I got to remember to ask this, because what is, and maybe it's a mindset thing, but where's the biggest mistakes that you see agents making in the way they approach social media?
Well, one of the biggest mistakes that I think agents make is not advertising themselves on social media. So I'm not saying don't make a post. I'm saying when I go to your page, your Facebook page, your Instagram page, how do I know that you sell real estate? If it's a picture of the sunset as your cover photo and you and your kids as your profile picture, that's beautiful. But where does it tell me that you sell real estate? We are we need to advocate for ourselves, and we need to advertise for ourselves. And so it's free. Social media is free. So why aren't we putting, you'll see if you go to my Facebook page on the very top, my cover photo is my name and my phone number. And you see multiple pictures of me in real estate. You see pictures of my kids. You see things like that. But there's no question when you go to my page what I do. And that, I
Yeah,
think, is the biggest mistake.
boy, I agree. I think there's certainly the going swinging all the way to the other direction. There's too much
Yeah.
too much advertising, of course.
Mhm.
But I think what you're saying is really important, because one of the stats that I might be a little off, so I apologize. You may maybe be able to correct me if I'm wrong. But one of the stats that people forget or maybe don't know is that, especially with Facebook, and I don't know Instagram's algorithm quite as well, but people who follow you on Facebook only see like 3 to 5% of your posts in general. So this
Yeah.
idea of advertising is really important, because even though you put out a post saying, hey guys, I'm looking for clients, or whatever, or I just closed this home, only a handful of your followers are even going to see that. So you do need to make a conscious effort of doing some consistent marketing and not being afraid that, oh, people are going to get so
Yeah.
annoyed by this. Yeah, if you're doing 20 of those a day, don't do that. But
No.
or
No.
maybe do it. I don't know. But certainly don't be worried about that, because Facebook is probably not going to share it with as many people as you want it to see it anyway.
No, the algorithm on Facebook and Instagram, on any social media platform, is only a very small sliver see. And I can't remember the statistic, honestly, but it's of, I want to say it's like 30% or something like that. And I could be totally wrong. I could have just made that up. That number's sticking out to me for some reason. But yeah, like you said, only a small percent of people see what you post. And so
Yeah.
you need to be consistent in your
Yes.
social media posting. You're not going to get water the same day that you dig the well. But if you keep digging and you keep reminding people, hey, I'm in real estate. Look at this closing. Look at this review. Look at this cool kitchen I got to show, something like that, then you're going to stay top of mind. So
Yeah.
you really have to be consistent. And it goes first, when I go to your page, can I see what you do? Do I know?
Yeah.
Your face is your brand. Where's your face? Where's your phone number? I know I don't scroll for phone numbers. If I want something, if it's not right there, I'm going to find another phone number somewhere else.
Yeah. Make it
So,
easy for people to reach out.
oh,
And,
totally.
and that can be done, like you were saying, that can all be done really in the or the header image of a Facebook page or
Yep.
your own personal profile. Those, you're
Mhm.
right, you should make it easy so that, because, and there's nothing inherently cheap about that. I know some people struggle with, like, well, I'm advertising and maybe that's, it's like, you know what, it's only cheap if you think it's cheap. Like, if you actually
Right.
authentically, I'm like, I mean, look, we advertise our business. I recruit realtors as for our company.
Yeah.
Well, the way I advertise is we have people who make cold calls to other realtors. That's
Mhm.
advertising.
Yeah.
And if that would have helped me on my Facebook page, I would put it on there. It's not there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Whatever your version of advertising is, letting people know what you do is not bragging. It is simply telling
It's
people what
not.
you do. Yeah.
100%. You're so right. It's not. Like I said, your face is your brand, the brand of your real estate business. When somebody thinks real estate, I want them to think of my face. I want them to think
Yes.
Courtney Hatfield. And by doing that, by posting and being consistent on social media, I recommend posting 2 to 3 times a week. Don't post those filler posts. Don't post the posts that, just because you feel like you have to post something. Post something that is going to post a survey. Be like, what would you want in your dream house? Do you want a wine cellar? Do you want a library? Do you want an in-ground pool? Post, get something that's going to get the people involved.
Yeah.
I also recommend posting 2 to 3 times a week. I have my notes right here, so that's what I'm looking off at the side so I can stay on track, but also posting on stories daily.
What do you
Inst-
recommend for stories? Because agents have lots of different strategies. Some
they do.
agents are like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm at a showing, or
Yeah.
at a listing, or whatever, and I found this really cool thing in the home that I want to show you, or check out this beautiful whatever." Or there's people that are like in the car on the way to the gym, or there's lots of different approaches, and I'm not here to say which ones work better,
Yeah.
but I'm curious what you found works the best for you.
So I keep my posts on my page are very strategic. I posts with faces get 30% more likes and interaction than posts without faces. So
Ah,
I'll post pictures of myself or my kids or whatnot. Clients, when they close in front of their house, I'll post a picture and I'll paint the story for them. When it comes to stories, those are a little bit more, they don't have to be as thought out. If you're out
right.
to eat and you're like, look at this amazing milkshake I got, and you tag the location in it, you can throw a song on there. You're at a showing and look at this incredible bathroom. Oh my gosh. You don't really have to put much thought behind it. I know people go live in their stories. I think that that's great. Show your face, go live. as long as you're consistent doing it. And it was funny because I had somebody, I didn't post on stories for maybe a day or so. I kind of took just like a break from social media for a minute. And I had one of my agents reach out to me and she's like, how am I supposed to know like what you're up to if you're not posting on your stories? And I was like, you're right. Like people follow along and you don't realize it, but people are like, oh, Courtney didn't go to Starbucks today. What's going on? You know, and people get invested.
They do. I mean, it's funny, like, for for anyone listening who is into gaming or maybe has children that are into gaming, there's a huge industry now of people watching other people play games or talk about playing games. And this is something people do get invested in other people's lives. And this is a great opportunity to get people hooked on you. And so you said something really interesting. I just want to, this really particular granular thing you said that was so smart, which was, look at this cool milkshake I'm enjoying at whatever place. And you can tag, of course, the place. And then just in case they're not on top of their social media, if they, if they are on top of their social media, they'll see it and maybe even repost it or set it out to their audience. Or if you don't see that, you could always message them and say, hey, FYI, I just put you in a reel. I wanted to support your business. Yeah. And and then that becomes an opportunity to chat with the owner or whoever's in charge.
Absolutely. A few things you could do with that by being your market expert, tagging places in social media. So then they're going to share it. People are going to see Courtney Hatfield.realtor shared that post. She's a realtor in this area. And I've gained followers from that. I've had people message me from that. You can also, one thing that I think is really neat to do is do interviews with local owners and
Love that.
Local businesses and just draw, hey, I'm your market expert. It does not have to have anything to do with real estate, but you are a realtor.
I'm going to take over the interview for 30 seconds because Courtney Courtney, I'm so sorry, but I am such a big fan of what Courtney's saying. So I apologize for jumping on top of this one, but I love this so much. So Courtney just gave everybody literally a strategy you could do every single week. Find a local business in your area that you love and support and that you want to see succeed. And you have to think about it. Now we're going to switch to the business owner's perspective. They're getting phone calls constantly from people wanting them to spend money on marketing efforts, right? Whether it's print ads, radio, internet ads, whatever it might be. It's all about, can we get more money out of the owner so that they can get more business? You're basically saying, I want to give you a free shout out to everyone who follows me. And can I come down to your thing and do a quick 2-minute interview or 10-minute interview about why you started this business? There is never going to be somebody that says no to that. Like, and I don't, and of course I don't charge. It's just something I do. And oh my God, it's so incredibly brilliant.
It's just a great way for you to be in the media. So when people think of you, the goal is to get people to think of you as their source of information for your town. It doesn't just have to be real estate related. And so you can go to the dance studio and you can say, oh, this dance studio has classes Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and they're offering a special this month. This is the owner, Billy Bob, and he has done this 37 years, and just really expand on that. They will share the video. You can share the video to different, if you have a city Facebook page, I know those exist, a county Facebook page, and you can just get your face everywhere. By that 2-minute interview.
I'm pausing, because you just said another amazing thing. So, because I live in a little neighborhood called Wicker Park. We have a Wicker Park community group, and we're, what most of the posts are? Either there's a lost cat or dog that somebody wants to find. Other than that, it's, does anyone have a good recommendation for an Indian restaurant or whatever, a hairdresser or doctor or whatever? So Courtney just said this amazing thing. You go interview the business that you want to support, whatever it is, doesn't matter what it is, just something that you are really into. And then you absolutely have a community page somewhere online on Facebook or there's other places too, and then post it there. And then, oh, by the way, they've learned that Courtney, the realtor, is putting this out, and that's amazing.
Yeah. You're their market expert. That's it. That's how you want to brand yourself with your face on social media.
Oh, I love
The
that.
other thing with social media that I like to drill in on is going live. So people are uncomfortable. They don't like going live in front of the camera. It's not for you, it's for other people. So when you go live and you're at a showing or you're at an open house or you're at, we have a theater downtown where I live, going live there and saying, I'm live here with this Beatles tribute band. And just those things won't go into your feed. They won't go onto your profile, but they're going to go in your stories. And it looks like you're everywhere all the time. And this has nothing to do with anything I just said, but when you're posting in your stories, people don't need to know that you're actually, on your couch ordering a pizza, watching a movie. It looks
Yes.
like you're out and about. It looks like you're constantly going.
Yes.
And
And perception's important.
it is. It is. So if you look like you're everywhere and you're involved in everything and you dabble in everything, people will say, oh, Courtney's done this. She's been here. And then they'll come to me and it just builds that relationship.
And you're also providing value because, like, by the way, Beatles are
You
my
are.
favorite band of all time. So
Oh, that's
I will
funny.
always go see a Beatles tribute band. But what you said is really important, because whether you're actually at the event or you're just promoting the event, saying, hey,
Yeah.
Beatles fans, there's a Beatles thing tonight. Like,
Mhm.
that's still incredible value to people. They're like, wow, Courtney really knows what's going on, whether you're there dancing or
Right.
not even able to attend. This idea
Right.
of providing value, even outside of real estate, just
Yes.
saying, like, I know what's going on because this is my community.
Yes.
I work in this community. Oh,
Yes.
brilliant. And we're talking about branding now, really. We're talking about
We
this
really are.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
The
gosh.
Nobody needs to know you're on your couch in your pajamas. Like you're
Yeah.
just providing value. That's literally what our job is to do, is to provide value. Be a
I
market
love
resource,
this.
be their go-to person. And that will eventually, you don't get water the same day. You
Right.
dig the well, it will turn into clients. It will turn into referrals. I've seen this time and time again in my own business, and we've only been in business, a few years.
Unbelievable. What percentage of your business comes from social media? Not, I mean, just a general idea of
My personal business is all social media. Everything that I do. We do get leads on the team, but I don't take leads. I pass those out.
Sure.
So all of mine last year, I just social media referrals. I closed 30 transactions.
Amazing. That's amazing. So this idea, how long did it, so you talked about, yeah, look, we're this is a marathon, not a sprint. You post once and then
Mhm.
nothing happens and you're like, well, that didn't work. And it's like, no, it probably did work. It's just not
Yeah.
how people make decisions about
Yeah.
their biggest, one of their biggest assets, if not their biggest asset. They need to get comfortable. It's going to take time.
Absolutely.
The followership is going to grow.
Mhm.
How long did it take before you started seeing results on social?
It was probably maybe a year and a half or 2 years
Yeah.
into consistently posting that I really started to get, and you'll see in the packet, in the PDF that I am going to share with everybody, you'll see examples of people saying, hey, do you have a business card or phone number? I can share it with my ex-husband. He's on the hunt for a house. Oh, Courtney Hatfield, 100%. She's amazing and local to the Canton area. One of the nicest ladies you'll ever meet. And I share a ton of screenshots. Just proof that this does work if you keep
Yeah.
putting in the time, it takes time. It does take time. I'm very authentic in what I post. Not everything is curated. It's right now you'll look at my Instagram and I just bought a house and I'm redoing it and just little projects. And so you'll see a bunch of reels of me, attempting different projects. It's what's really happening in my life. And I get comments on there that people are like, I can't wait to see how this turns out. And, it keeps people in the loop. So they may not need me for real estate right now, but if they want to redo their fireplace, they can call me,
Yeah.
still providing that value, even though it's very authentic to who I am.
And they might be doing their fireplace and going, we
Yeah.
don't know the right masonry guy or the architect or the contractor. Like, we should ask Courtney because I know I've
Yeah.
been following her and this is what she's up to.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. That is really, really smart. And I don't know that anyone's ever really talked about that in that way on the show. So I appreciate you going into that detail. And I'm a marketer, so I just absolutely love this conversation. And it's so funny because what we're not talking about necessarily is how to hone your actual skills as a realtor, which you absolutely should be doing on top
Yeah.
of that. But I think agents focus on that quite a lot, which they should, and they
Yeah.
often neglect this marathon, like you were saying, 1.5 to 2 years before you saw results on
Yeah.
social. That is not a fun ride, right? Like it's a grind that you just have to trust
Mhm.
is eventually going to pay off. And it's just, look, this
It is.
podcast, no, nobody listened to this podcast for the first year and a half. Nobody cared about it. And took it took that long before anyone even noticed it. So I am right with you.
Right. You have to put in the time. I'm weary about instant success. So every day that I'm like, are we still like a top producing team? You know what I mean? I still question how I just question it because
Yeah,
I feel like instant success, there's something to be said about it. But
sure.
you have to put in the work and we really have to get where we are. Social media, I do recommend. So my method on social media is I pick 5 topics to post about, and they are real estate related. And I can fly through those real quick just to give
Please.
some ideas. So the first thing I post are pictures of myself because, like I said, photos of faces get more engagement than
Sure.
photos of like, I don't know, a sunset. Then I post work, new listings, sold listings, reviews, market news, and team news. And anytime I post team news, I am a big fan of giving credit where it's due. So I am tagging the entire team. It's not about me, it's about them. This is their businesses that we are trying to grow. And so I will tag every single person. So now what I just posted about your home court team ends up on 6 different Facebook pages or Instagram
Yeah.
pages or Instagram stories. And our brand grows from there. I'm a big advocate of posting reviews. You should absolutely don't post a 1-star review. But if you've got a 5-star review, then you
Yes.
should absolutely post it. If you sold $1 million house, it doesn't matter if you sold that house last July, you still sold that $1 million house. So post it. Keep posting it. Post, different different photos of it because you are $1 million agent now. You sold that $1
Yeah,
million house.
and you could even every year on the home anniversary say congratulations to so and so who purchased or sold this home a year ago. So much fun working with you. You know, it could be something like that, and tag them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. The third thing I post my kids, and I always try to make it business related. So my daughter had career day at school. She's 6. She wanted to dress up like me for career day. So
Oh,
she put on her earrings. She put on her sweatshirt that says your home court team. She carried her purse and she carried a little coffee mug. And that's what she went to school. And I posted the picture and everybody loved it. Or I'll
it's the
post a
cutest thing
picture
I've
of
ever heard.
it was like, well, she had my business cards in she had a little fake Louis Vuitton purse and she put her business cards in there and she took them and I was like, pass those babies out, like get them everywhere. so
I love it.
I'll post the pictures of that or her in front of a listing sign, pretending like she sold it just to
Oh, that's
put,
great. I
yeah,
love that.
just different ideas to kind of bring it. It's still business related, but it's still personal to me.
Sure.
I'll post quotes. I do like sales quotes. And funny, the quotes that I see get the most interaction or saves on Instagram are quotes about money. And
Interesting.
yeah, I've never even spoken about this with anybody because it's just like one of those, you look at your insights and you're like, oh, okay. But I've noticed quotes about money, financial freedom, things like that. Those get the most saves and shares on Instagram, which I thought was, so I've ramped up sharing those.
Well,
And
everybody
then,
wants more money, right? So I think
well,
that
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, it does. And then I post, I like doing DIYs. So that is my fifth thing that I post are DIY videos of the house, or I'm a big thrifter or something that I found at Goodwill, or I'll post things like that. Very authentic to me, brings in a different type of audience, but
Sure.
gets the engagement and they know that I'm a realtor in the meantime.
Well, and I want to point out something about the DIY crowd, because DIY crowd is online. This is where
Yeah.
they're learning oftentimes how to do some of their DIY
Mhm.
projects. So this is also like going where your audience is. Yes, it's a different audience than who is more attracted to other posts of yours, but that's the whole point, is you have different sort of categories for different
Yeah.
types of clients. And this idea of DIY people are always looking for inspiration, ideas,
Yes.
instruction. So I've never heard anyone talk about that. That's really smart.
It's home. It's, we sell homes for a living. So people, what do they want to do? They want to renovate their home, or they want to update it in some way. And so I just post my personal DIY projects and products that I got, things like that. And I mean, like I said, it's a different following, but it's very in line with what I do
God, I
and who
love
I
that.
am.
You have given us so many great. I'm sorry. Did we hit all five of your topics?
We
Because
did. We
okay,
did.
good.
Yes.
Because
Yeah. I know.
I
I
am
just
just
rambled there for a minute.
no. You were wonderful. I lose track of things because I get so excited with a lot of these ideas, and I'm realizing as a was so funny. So this is Courtney was kind enough not to scold me, but she probably should have, because she said to me before we started, "Do you guys have Instagram?" And I'm like, "Not really," for the podcast. And I was like, how stupid are we that we don't have Instagram yet? And I've had about lots of people talk about social media in the past. So this is my challenge to myself to take my own
Yes.
advice, or Courtney's advice rather. And I'm going to commit to starting to post more regularly about the podcast, as well as our own business for recruiting realtors.
Yeah.
But you are absolutely right. And you're getting all of your business through social. That is
Yeah.
insane.
Yes. The one thing, and I know we talked about something mistakes agents make on
Yeah.
social media, um, politics, COVID, hot
Religion.
topic issues religion, things that we're not in the market to debate. We're in the market to sell houses. So if somebody, if I vote for somebody and somebody else votes for somebody, I'm not going to not sell them a house because they didn't vote for the person I wanted. I
Right.
don't care who they voted for. I
Yeah.
care that they, used me to buy their house. So I just keep all of that separate. You'll never find a single thing on my page about anything political, anything to
Well,
do
it's
with
just going to
anything.
polarize. It'll
It,
polarize and
it
alienate a
does.
certain group. And you're, as a business owner, I guess a strategy of like, if I polarize one side, maybe the other side comes. I don't know. It seems like a very risky strategy. I would
It
rather
is.
let everybody want to work with
It
me.
is.
Yeah.
100%. And I'm shocked by how many agents I see that are just so like rude about it on Facebook or Instagram, more so Facebook. But I'm just like, oh my gosh, just don't stop talking.
I'm a big fan of the realtor community, Lab Coat Agents, which is I think the
Yeah.
largest realtor community online, and
Yes.
it's wonderful, and there's so much value there. And I love Tristan and those guys. They're
Yeah,
lovely. They've
same.
been on my
I do
show.
too.
But you're right. Like, and this is just a realtor thing that other people wouldn't necessarily see. But there's a lot of like, a brokerage has, layoffs, or something bad happens to a brokerage, and there's a lot of brokers out there who are like, thank God so and so's going down, and blah. And
Yeah.
it's an incredible amount. And I go, I wonder what they're
Yes.
posting on their own public stuff. If they're willing to
100%.
sort, it's very strange. So don't
There,
alienate people.
exactly. There's enough sun to shine for every single person. And you know what? I kind of feel like if you used your time better, maybe you should be selling a house instead of complaining on Facebook,
Right.
That's what
Right.
I'm trying to do.
Yeah, you're right. And people who just being really conscious about your image,
Mhm.
and that's not a bad thing. It's called branding. It's
It is.
really important. It's funny. I'm starting another podcast, non-real estate related for an organization. And as a result, I'm just interviewing people for this particular nonprofit.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with me, but someone has to be the podcast host. And so I had to really think that even though I don't speak for the organization, I'm not on their board of directors. I'm part of the community of this organization, but I'm not their main person. But it's going to come across that I'm the main person because I'm going to be doing this podcast. And I had to realize, okay, it's important for me not to insert myself into this new podcast because I don't speak for this brand, but you speak for your own brand. And on this show, I can be as, obnoxious as I want because it's my own brand.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. Is really being aware that, every time you post, it's permanent, it's forever. And, maybe people should be more conscious of what their brand is because their clients are going to look them up.
They really are. Yeah, just be very careful what you put on and what you're willing. Some people, that's a hill they're willing to die on. So, all right, I'll take the clients you don't want.
I love that. And also, I said this at the beginning, but I sort of said it quickly. Courtney has been generous enough to provide a guide for our audience to really help them understand best practices around social media marketing. We're going to make that available. It's in the show notes. It's a PDF, super easy to get, and really will help you start your journey there. What do you tell agents, people that you speak to about doing more on social, if they're afraid to sort of turn the camera on themselves? If there is a fear of, I don't really, it's hard for me to expose. Maybe, they're just, a lot of people aren't comfortable in front of a camera. I know I'm not.
They are. I'm not either, but a lot of people are. And some agents on my team aren't comfortable with it. And a lot of the time it really just takes practice. It just takes practice. Honestly, nobody's thinking about what you look like when you send them that video. They're listening to what you have to say, and people look too far into it. They really do.
Yeah.
So, it just takes practice. Stand in front of a mirror, record yourself a few times. One thing that I have told my team is so let's say they make connection with a new lead, send that person a video and say, it was so nice to talk to you. I can't wait to work with you. I'm going to, send you properties, whatever you guys spoke about, but do it, make a video of your face and send it to them. It's so much better than, hey, this is Courtney Hatfield, it was such a pleasure. And being, sending them a text message. That's so much more generic. Anybody can send a text message. What makes us different? Let's send a video message. Let's put our face.
So I want to drill down on this for a moment because I want to make sure I understand the process because this is brilliant. So let's say you're at an open house, you get a list of people that have come in, and now at the end of the open house, you now have names and phone numbers and email addresses of people to follow up with who maybe they're not going to buy the home, but maybe they're, you could show them other properties. Absolutely. So you saying make a video for those people as well?
Yes.
And how do you send that? I'm sorry. How do you distribute that to them?
Just through a text platform. We use Follow Up Boss, so I send my stuff through Follow Up Boss.
We love Follow Up Boss. They're a sponsor of ours, so we love Follow Up Boss.
Yes, shameless plug. There you go.
No, but you're right. We all have phones that can easily do this turnaround. Hey, it was so good meeting 100%. You at the open house. I love it.
That's all it is. And I just flip my camera around. I take a video. It was so nice to meet you guys at the open house. I know this home wasn't for you, but I'm going to go home and send you some options that might be. Looking forward to working with you. Then they see your face again. They're more apt to respond. Like we said, faces get more interaction than just a generic text message that anybody can type up a text message. Sure, anybody can send a video, but not everybody will.
In fact, almost nobody will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just really,
so simple.
It's just really, it makes you stand out against your competition.
It does. And it shows that you are willing to go a little bit further maybe than other realtors to sort of earn the business, I guess, not even win the business, earn it. Because I think you do have to earn it. I think earning it is through showing people that you're willing to work for them, and making a video. It shows, it's just a great idea. Now we're gonna put a cap on this episode because Courtney's given so much of herself in this episode that I think our audience is like madly scribbling notes about what they can do, because this is incredible. And Courtney has got to go because they're probably closing a home later today. So I'm gonna do this, and I want to have you back in the future to even give more and more tips. But you've given us a solid hour of unbelievable tips and advice for social media. I'm so grateful to have had you on our show. And I want to make a point that if there are any realtors out there who are maybe in the Cleveland or surrounding areas, Akron area as well, and you're looking to maybe join a team, you never know. Reach out to Courtney and see if she might be a good fit, or you might be a good fit for her team. And by the way, maybe you're just somebody who's looking for a realtor, to either you're a realtor in another area and you have somebody moving to that area, or that, you're not a realtor and you found our podcast and you want to work with somebody like Courtney. And by the way, if you live in those areas, you absolutely should. What's the best way that someone should reach out to you?
You can find me on Facebook, Courtney Hatfield, or you can find me on Instagram, CourtneyHatfield.realtor, all one word. I'm on all the social medias. You can find me anywhere, Courtney Hatfield.
And all of those links will be in the show notes if you're listening to this through a podcast app. And also remember to download her PDF of some best social media practices that she was so kind to provide to our audience. And Courtney, on behalf of our audience, we really drank from the fire hose today. And so my head is spinning a bit, and I am about to start to put some things into action for our own podcast here and my own real estate business, or the real estate business I work for, so that I can get better results on social. So I want to check back in with you shortly and get you back on the show. So on behalf of the audience, you provided incredible value. So thank you. And I know how busy you are. So thank you on top of that.
Thank you.
And also, well, we appreciate it so much. And also, on behalf of Courtney and myself, we want to thank everyone who's watching and listening to the end. We really appreciate your participation in our show. And the best way you can help us grow is by telling a friend. Just think of one other realtor that could benefit from hearing, maybe somebody who needs to have a better social media presence, and send them a link to this episode. The best way you can have introduce someone to us, just send them to our website, keepingitrealpod.com, or just have them pull up a podcast app, search for Keeping It Real, hit the subscribe button. And then the only thing we ask is that you leave us a review. Let us know what you think of the show. It helps us grow, helps us get better. So help us get better by telling other people and letting us know what you like and what you don't like about our show, so we can keep getting better for you. Courtney, thank you so much. And we will see everybody on the next episode.
Thank you.